Hey everyone, and welcome to week 2 of my 30 graphic novels in 30 days reading challenge. I'm currently doing a 30 graphic novels in 30 days reading challenge as well as the graphics-a-thon. This is my current progress with that at the moment. I'm really happy with how this is turning out and everything. I'm nearly finished with the actual board itself. So this week I've decided to kind of treat myself and go a little bit off board and read the entirety of the Empyre event. I am so excited to be reading this because I've been waiting to read this for literal years now. And if you don't know what the Empyre event is, it is essentially a major event that happened in Marvel Comics recently. I'm saying recently, a couple of years ago now, but anyway, it was a massive event where the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and a whole load of other people got pulled in, and it is essentially the culmination of the Kree-Skrull War that's been raging on in Marvel Comics for decades now. If you don't know what the Kree-Skrull War is, or what Krees and Skrull are, I'll leave a link down below to my blog post where I cover all of those characters and the war and everything else, but essentially it is the characters and the war that is mentioned in Captain Marvel and focuses on throughout Captain Marvel, and then also Secret Invasion, the TV show, and essentially it is the culmination of those two things just in the comics, and the comic book version of those wars and those characters, everything else. And I've been meaning to read this for, well, since it came out, essentially, and I just haven't done it for one reason or another, and I've decided that this is going to be the week I'm going to finally read Empyre. So what I'm going to do this week is read one graphic novel within this event every single day, and I'm going to start obviously with Road to Empyre, which is the starting ground for all of this, and then I'm going to go through each of the other ones as well, like Lords of Empyre, Empyre Avengers, all of this kind of thing throughout the rest of the week. So let's start with Road to Empyre and see what I think about it. I'm only a few pages in, but we have already called in Captain Marvel, Daredevil, Elektra, Jessica Jones, the Avengers, and now we also have the Blue Marvel, which is someone I read about ages ago now. I haven't seen him in a really long time, so I'm really excited to see him. We've also got Jimmy Woo here and a whole load of others, and when you're just in the prequel setup and so many of these people being pulled in, you know you're going to be in for a good time and a massive event. What I will say though is that this is not going to be for new readers whatsoever, because this focuses or has mentioned a lot about all those characters. Obviously it's talking about the fact that Matt isn't Daredevil right now. There is also Carol actually being half Kree, and that's been revealed, and everything going on there. We're also dealing with the fact that the Avengers are not actually in Avengers Tower anymore. They're actually in the head of a Celestial in the middle of the ocean, and all I'm saying is there is currently a Celestial head in the middle of the ocean in the MCU, so that's probably where we're going to next see the Avengers and have their next sort of Avengers place, because obviously they don't have the tower and they don't have the compound anymore, but besides the point. And they've got a whole load of things in here talking about the War of the Realms and all of this kind of thing. So if you're not kind of up to date with these things in Marvel, then you'll probably need to read that kind of thing beforehand. Obviously you're also going to need to read Secret Invasion and the Kree-Skrull War, things like this. I've actually got a reading order down below that actually has pre-reading listed there, so again that's linked down below. And what I wanted to point out right now with this panel here, because Carol's gone to Blue Marvel because there is a dead body that's turned up, and there's only there's no dirt anywhere in the place. There's no idea how this guy's been murdered or anything else, and the only thing in the house is essentially the body and a picture of the guy's face on the wall, and on the back of it it's got like the Harlow star as well as the logo Two-Faced and a whole bunch of numbers. So Carol's calling in everybody she can think of to try and investigate what's going on here. And essentially she's gone to Blue Marvel now and has found Jimmy Woo there and a few other people, and she's gone, is this your version of the Illuminati? And Blue Marvel's gone, more like an informal Avengers where only way you're the mainstream, we're looking at the weirdness on the fringes. And I'm like, can I have this as like an actual comic? Because that just sounds really interesting. I love the idea of seeing this team of possible outcasts and people you don't see that often working together and do like the weird stuff. Because if I remember rightly, there was talk of there being possibly a Jimmy Woo TV series where he does that and he focuses on investigating the weird stuff in the world and things like this. And I was immediately fascinated by that, and I love that kind of thing. So I would love to see that as a TV show with Blue Marvel as well, because Blue Marvel is awesome, and then also a comic as well, because I just think that'd be really fun to read. And I mean, if this team had characters who fit this description, like Jimmy Woo does and Night Thrasher, saying James Bond meets Moriarty and Sherlock Holmes meets Tony Hawk, I mean, how could you not be interested in that, quite frankly? Because that just sounds like such a good time and so fascinating. I'm gonna need this yesterday. It's not happened, I know, but I'd really like to see it, to be honest. This is the energy I want from the Fantastic Four, because everyone is just going bonkers over there. So you've got the fact that Franklin's like, look, every single time I use my powers, I get less powerful. So I've made a list of the people that I will fight and those who I'm not going to bother with. This kind of thing. Valeria has decided to take the inhibitor chip out of Herbie, their robot, as well as the language sensor. So Herbie's now swearing at them all. Meanwhile, Ben has decided that he's going to update the Fantastic Four website and say Johnny's off the like bachelor list and everything, and Johnny's going, don't you dare, I will set you on fire if you do that. And Ben's going, yeah, well, I'll only like stop doing this if you do my laundry for a week. And Reed's like, I need a break. And I'm like, this is the absolute bonkers family stuff I want from the Fantastic Four. I'm sure that's what we're gonna get, but I just love this so much. It's just the absolute pure distilled bonkersness that is the Fantastic Four that I absolutely love. I will say that as a prequel, this is a little bit info dumpy in places, as it's talking about what happened with the Kree Skrull War, not the Kree. Anyway, I always get that wrong, I don't know why, but I always do. Anyway, it's kind of info dumping that, and also info dumping who Teddy is. He is Hulkling, by the way. I will be referring to him as Teddy and Hulkling intermittently. So if I say Teddy or Hulkling, I mean the same character. And if I say Billy or Wiccan, I again mean the same character. For context, Teddy is half Kree, half Skrull, and he is essentially the rightful king of the both of them, and he's just been called up. He is now talking to the Kree and the Skrull and saying, we are now an alliance, the war is over, this kind of thing, but now we are going to be setting our sights on Earth and going to war with Earth. Meanwhile, his boyfriend, Billy / Wiccan, is magic. He's a magic user, and he has very similar powers to Scarlet Witch, because his mother is Scarlet Witch, essentially. But what I wanted to quickly say right now is that I love this bit here, because they talk about the two of them are in love, and how Teddy was raised as a human, he lived as a human, and he found love as a human as well. And obviously this is a reference to that classic Spider-Man kiss scene as well, because I mean, even if the powers don't fit, you see an opportunity, you take it, and I love it when they do that. And with that, I've now just finished Road to Empire, and that was really good fun in the end. I think actually on reflection, this could be quite a good one to read, even if you are brand new to Marvel Comics, because while there's bits about, say, Carol and mentions of, say, the King in Black and things like this, it's more like background, I'd say. So it's more like you could sort of view it as like a checklist of things to read later if you haven't read them before. And what this actually does is really set the stage for Empyre itself really, really well. It gives you admittedly a bit of info dump in terms of who Teddy is, and then the Kree Skrull War, why it started, all of that kind of thing. But overall, I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. It's a really sort of easy way to get things going if you are brand new to all of this and you don't know what's going on, but you really want to. It's like a nice quick start guide, so you can read this and then maybe go back to those originals if you are still really interested in them, this kind of thing. And what's really good is right at the end of this as well, it has a little bit of a handbook, which is about 10 pages long, which covers all of the major players and gives you a bit of a background in them, why they're involved, this kind of thing, which is also fantastic to have, because I mean, even if you don't want to go back to those classic issues for whatever reason, you can still read that and you'll be completely fine to read the rest of it. So on the whole, this is actually quite a good one to read if you are brand new to Marvel Comics. If you aren't brand new to Marvel Comics, it can get a little bit info dumpy because you're a bit like, oh, I know this, but to be honest, I don't really mind that much, because there's a few things I had forgotten, like the Kotati and things like this. I have forgotten that kind of stuff, so it was nice to have the reminder. And generally, I really enjoyed this. I'm giving it 4 stars. I really like the artwork. I like that it gave each character a little bit of a time to shine as well in a lot of ways, which was fantastic. I also really liked how we got a look at each of the characters, and it wasn't sort of skimming over all of these characters. They each got a little bit of time to shine, things like this, which was absolutely fantastic. And overall, I'm giving this 4 stars. Tomorrow I'll be reading the main Empyre event, and then over the next few days I'll be reading the rest of the tie-ins, which is very exciting. And I'm just generally really excited to finally be reading this. I've been wanting to read it for a good solid 2 years now, I think, and I'm now really excited that I'm finally doing it. It feels really good. I'm really enjoying myself, and I've just really missed reading major Marvel events, to be honest, so just generally really glad to be doing that. But for now though, because obviously I've now read my daily comic, I'm going to be starting on a novel, and this is my first full-length novel for the month, and that is Merciless Saviours by H.E. Edgman. I've already read 2 novellas this month, but I haven't read a full-length novel yet, so it's about time I did that, considering it's the 13th right now and I have several other books on my TBR I also need to read this month. But I'm going to be starting with this one, which is obviously Merciless Saviours, which is the sequel to Godly Heathens, and I'm just generally really excited to get started with this because I really enjoyed Godly Heathens, and I'm really excited to see how it all ends. So that is going to be my afternoon. Then tomorrow I'll be going back to Empyre, and I'm really excited for both, to be honest, so cannot wait to get started here. It's now Wednesday and I've managed to read nearly half of Merciless Saviours. I am currently here in the book, so I'm not doing too badly, and I am really enjoying this. This is so much fun so far. It's just building more and more on what happened in Godly Heathens, and essentially it's just giving me that proper morally grey godlike characters trying to kill each other, and that is a trope I will always love, and this is absolutely giving that in spades, and I am loving it so much. So thank you very much, Hannah, for sending me this book as part of my Waypoint Books full moon subscription box, because I am loving this so far. I will say, if you are interested in this though, check out the trigger warnings, because there are a lot of them, including for memories or partial memories of child sexual abuse, and then also a lot of body horror as well. There's also like trying to kill each other, depression, all of this kind of thing as well, but I just wanted to give trigger warnings for those 2 things because they are, in my mind, some of the most important ones to warn about. But I am loving this, but that is not the point of this vlog. This vlog is supposed to be about comics, and today we are going on to the main Empyre event. This is the main part of it, that where everybody comes together to deal with the Empyre event, and then everything else I'll be reading this week will be the tie-ins to that, focusing on individual teams and things like this. So we're going to get on with the main Empyre event, and I cannot wait. I've heard so many things. I think there's maybe where Billy and Teddy get married. I could be wrong. I know they get married at some point in this, and I'm really excited to see that because I recently wrote a blog post about it and about the gay weddings of the Marvel Universe, because Mystique and Raven, Mystique and Irene, Raven is Mystique. Anyway, Mystique and Irene recently got married, so I did a bit of a blog post about some of Marvel's gay marriages, and obviously Billy and Teddy are one of them, and I know it's somewhere in this event, so I think it may be this one, or it could be later on. I don't know. Either way, very excited to start the main event anyway, so I'm going to go do that and stop rambling, because apparently it's too hot and now my brain is melting and I am rambling, so I'm just going to get on and read something. Oh, this event is going really old school. We've got Jack Duquesne here, you know, the guy from Hawkeye, but he's actually in the comics Hawkeye's mentor, and they're about to go into it a little bit more, so even if you haven't read those comics, you will get a very quick backstory as to who he is. But we are going old school with some of these characters in this, and I am loving that, to be honest. I'm trying not to give away too many plot spoilers or anything in case anybody wants to read this for themselves, but Ghost Rider just turned the Quinjet into the Ghost Quinjet, as in he set it on fire like Ghost Rider does with all of his vehicles, and I'm like, that is so cool. They actually made it go on fire. Love it. Absolutely love it. The same way that Sue Storm did earlier, she made their ship go invisible because Sue can do that. And I was like, wait, Sue can do that? So that was quite fun. But also I'm really enjoying the fact that Fantastic Four are in this, because I've been wanting to read Fantastic Four for a while. And then I said, no, I'm not going to read Fantastic Four because their movie's out next year and I'm saving it all for then. And this is kind of hitting the spot because they're actually in this. So I'm kind of getting my Fantastic Four fix without sort of taking away any of the stuff that I want to read next year for when the movie comes out. And it's really nice when you've got a whole ton of people you really want to read about and they all turn up in the same event. It's like brilliant. I don't have to read any of their individual comics and save them for when their adaptations come out. So that's absolutely brilliant. I'm so glad I chose this event specifically to read this month, because this is hitting so many points for me and I'm really enjoying it. I was right, this is where Billy and Teddy get married, and it's such a sweet moment because they've just gotten to Billy because they're like, we need you, Teddy's not acting like himself, maybe you can talk some sense into him, this kind of thing. And Billy's gone, that's not my husband, that is not the man I married. And they're like, you're not married. And he's like, yeah, we had an hour before he had to go up into space, so we got married. And what happened was that they went to Vegas and they got married in Vegas, and their Young Avengers team were there as well, and they managed to get there because they're all teleporters or speedsters, so they all just came along, which is absolutely great. But I just want to point out this bit here where they're talking to the officiants and they're like, we can get this wedding rolling in like 5 minutes, and Teddy has just said thanks Alan, and I think that Alan is supposed to be Alan Heinberg, who is the creator of Billy and Teddy, because if I remember rightly, in their big wedding they have at the end of this, they do have their original creators there as well. And I think this here is supposed to be the original like writers as well of the Young Avengers, their creators, everything else. So I'm just like, that's such a cool reference. I love it when they do like a wedding episode or anything like this and they actually put the creators of the characters into it, because I know they did at the Hellfire Gala, one of the Hellfire Galas, Kevin Feige was there and a few other people, and I love these types of Easter eggs. It just brings me so much joy. And I mean, the wedding itself was bringing me joy, but this is also bringing me joy because I just love seeing when Marvel put their creators into the stories, especially when it's not the same guy writing it essentially, and they've put them in as a sort of nice little reference, Easter egg thing. Brilliant. I absolutely love it, and I just had to point it out quickly. Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps. Brilliant reference there. Also, another reference is in this shot because Tony is wearing a shirt here that says 1.21 gigawatts, which is obviously a reference as well to Back to the Future. And now I have officially finished Empyre itself, and I really enjoyed this one. I really like the battles of it. I really like the general storyline of it as well. Seeing all of these teams coming together and working together in different ways was really fascinating. It's one of my favourite things about reading massive Marvel events where everyone gets involved. I will say it probably would have helped if I'd also read the tie-ins around the same sort of time, because they happen sort of in between these issues collected here, but I'm going to be doing that over the rest of the week, so I will slowly fill that in then. But overall, this was really good fun. I love seeing everybody interacting with each other. I love the humour of it. The twists were really good. The artwork was fantastic, like I said, and everything else was just really good fun. I will say that a few bits did tie up a little bit too nicely, and I was a little bit like, that's a little bit sort of cheesy and a little bit unrealistic, but it's a comic. It had to have a happy ending, and quite frankly the characters that ending happened to absolutely deserve that happy ending, so I'm not going to complain about that. And overall it was still a really good time, and I'm going to be giving this 4 stars. I'm now going to take a break from reading today because the heat is melting my brain, but tomorrow I'll be back with reading some of those tie-ins. It's now the next day. I am marginally cooler, and I've now got 3 more Empyre comics to read. I've got Empyre X-Men, Empyre Captain America and the Avengers, and Lords of Empyre. And I think I'm going to go for Lords of Empyre today because that one's focusing more on Teddy and what he was up to and that kind of bit. So I think I'm going to start there, and then I'm going to go for Captain America and the Avengers tomorrow, as well as X-Men, because I'm going to have to double up reading comics tomorrow to kind of make up for the weekend, so I think that's what I'm going to do, but today I'm leaning more towards Lords of Empyre, I think, so I'm going to go there next. So this has all started out with Billy and Teddy doing their own thing, or Teddy's at home and Billy's off being Billy and being like the demiurge and all the rest of it, as Billy is. He is really powerful, predicted to be possibly the next Sorcerer Supreme, all of this kind of stuff. But essentially you just need to know Billy is the son of the Scarlet Witch and has a very similar power set and very similar sort of levels of power as well, whereas Teddy is more of a shapeshifter. He's sort of like Hulk, hence his name Hulkling, and he is the son, like I said, of one of the Kree's greatest heroes, and then also the princess of the Skrulls. So he's a mixture between the two of them. Is a very much sort of his parents kind of Romeo and Julieted it in a lot of ways, and he's now been on Earth for years now, and he's engaged to Billy. He's missing him, and he's gone out with Billy's twin Tommy and his boyfriend as well, whose name has completely escaped me, but those two anyway, and they're sort of just chatting and all the rest of it, and now a Kree and a Skrull have come along and said, look, we need you because a war's coming. We need someone to unite the Kree and the Skrulls, and you're the person to do it because you are literally part Kree, part Skrull. You could possibly call him a Scree because he's between the two, but anyway, so they've come to get him, and then a whole load of Skrull religious fanatics have gone, absolutely not, we are not having that person on the throne of Skrullos. And now they're trying to protect him and everything. And you've just had this bit where they've gone, protect the Emperor, protect the intergalactic saviour. And then someone else has gone, protect the hot twunk with the enormous arms. I don't know why that's so funny, but that just really got me. Like, I mean, it's true, but I just find that really funny. It just really hit me. It's just... it really got me. Only in Marvel Comics would you get Conan the Barbarian teaming up with Venom, who is an alien symbiote bonded with a human, fighting plant people who are trying to take over the world. It's just so random, but I absolutely love it. This is why I love comics, because weird stuff like this happens and you just roll with it, and it's just so much fun. It's so random, but it somehow works. And I love that. I really love that. It's kind of the Barbarian teaming up with Venom. I mean, there's not much else to say there, really, is there? It's bonkers, but it's genius, and it works. And that's now Lords of Empyre done, and that was quite fun. I will say it's not focusing on characters I care as much about as like the main Empyre event, but that is not this comic's fault whatsoever. That is a me thing. I still really enjoyed myself, like I said, seeing Conan the Barbarian team up with Venom. That was a slightly random thing, but I still really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed seeing Billy and Teddy's relationship and seeing how they dealt with Teddy ascending to the throne and things like this, and how the Kree and the Skrulls reacted to Billy, reacted to Billy, I should say, being Teddy's fiance and things like this, and how much they love each other and how much they don't want to let each other go, and the necessary lie that they tell the Kree and the Skrulls so they can still be together. That was great. I also really enjoyed seeing Koi's point of view as well, and seeing sort of his view on his childhood and what's happening now, and why he decided to wage war on the humans and basically like anything that isn't plant-based. So that was quite interesting, but it was just a bunch of characters who aren't my absolute A-list favourites, so that slightly took away from this a little bit, but I still really enjoyed myself, and I'm still giving it 4 stars. I definitely recommend it if you are reading Empyre. I would say maybe read it around the same sort of time and keep those maybe a list of the issues that are referenced throughout here as well if you want to read them later, because I think it definitely fills in a few of those gaps in a lot of ways, which would really sort of like help you reading this. You don't have to necessarily, but it just kind of fills in those gaps a little bit better than those sort of cliff notes conversations that you get throughout here. But overall, like I said, really fun, really interesting. I will say, like I said, that this isn't my favourite character in the world, but I still had a great time with it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. Now, for the rest of the day, I need to write a blog post. This time I'm covering the Marvel Grand Designs, which is a small imprint within Marvel that I want to talk about on the blog, because, quite frankly, I am putting off writing the second half of the Krakoan era because it's going to be long and the last one took me all day to do, and I'm just putting that off right now until I've got maybe a little bit more time, and then after I've written this blog post I'm going to be trying to finish Merciless Saviours. I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage it because I've still got this much left, but I got nearly halfway through like yesterday, so not yesterday, the day before, so I may manage it, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a damn good try anyway. But right now, I'm going to go write my blog post and then I'll be reading that for the rest of the day. So, I'm going to get on with it. But overall, like I said, Empyre, Lords of Empyre, 4 stars, really enjoyable. Just not my favourite characters in the world in there, but still great fun, still great part of the Empyre event. And now, onto the blog post. So I'm still reading Merciless Saviours right now, and there's just been a Marvel reference, specifically the MCU, but I'm going to mention it anyway because obviously I'm reading a bunch of Marvel comics this week, and it's for the vlog, may as well mention it now because Marvel, you know, and also I'm never going to not mention a Marvel reference. So I'm going to put the photo I've taken of this paragraph here as well, even though I'm going to read it out because I'm not very good at reading things aloud, I'm dyslexic, but I'm going to try anyway, but if you prefer to physically read it yourself, it's there. But it says, Marvel's Loki begins an obsession with Norse mythology that will later lead to my overly identifying with the Greek Icarus. Even later, I will credit the son of Daedalus, I apologise right now if I've mispronounced that, for my gender crisis. In that way, I suppose the MCU may be trans, but that hasn't happened yet. And then it goes on to talk about when Jem was 10, but I just wanted to point out that little Loki reference because I'm talking about Marvel comics this week, and this is a Marvel reference, even if it is the MCU. I'm still going to carry on talking about it because it's on theme, and as we all know, like I said, I can never resist talking about Marvel. So yesterday I managed to finish Merciless Saviours and I really enjoyed myself. I will say that the heat kind of melted my brain after a while, so I'm pretty sure I didn't fully understand what was going on for parts of this, but that's entirely the heat wave and my fault, not the book's fault whatsoever. I'm not quite sure I understood the ending either, so I'm giving it 4 stars because I didn't fully understand what was going on, but at the same time I had a fantastic time reading this. I loved how morally great evil everyone was. I loved how irredeemable a lot of people were as well. Exploring the world more, exploring the magic more, and everything else was fantastic. And overall, I did have a really good time with it, so it's getting 4 stars. And now I'm going to be going on to reading the last 2 bits of the Empyre series because I've got a very busy weekend coming up, so I'm not going to have that much time to read, so I want to get a little bit ahead, and I would spend the rest of the day reading comics to get really far ahead, but I've actually only got this morning because I've got a dentist appointment in the afternoon, so I've only got this morning, so I'm going to try and race through the final 2 Empyre bits now, just to round out this series and then see if I have anything, like time for anything more. I'm very much doubting it though, so I'm going to quickly get on with those because, like I said, I'm not going to have the weekend because weekends are never usually my thing in terms of like getting reading done or anything. I'm usually doing 6 ton of other things, and I am spending admittedly Sunday in the cinema watching Deadpool and Wolverine for, I'm not kidding, the 7th time because I love this movie so much. I've never seen a movie this many times in the cinema in my life, and I've seen this one 7 times already. It's just incredible. It's like possibly my favourite movie of all time now. I adore it so much. So I'm seeing it again before it completely winds up and wraps up in the cinema because you've always got to see it one last time in the cinema because it's got to be seen to be believed on that big screen. And then afterwards I'm going to see Alien Romulus because while I'm not the biggest fan of Alien, I do like Prometheus and also Alien Covenant, which I know is an unpopular opinion, but I don't care. I love those movies, and my uncle is generally a massive fan of Alien and he really wants to go see it, and Alien Romulus does actually look quite good to me, so we're going to go and see that as well. So I'm going to be spending an entire day in the cinema on Sunday, and Saturday I've got no idea what I'm doing, but probably a whole lot of stuff I don't really want to do, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. So anyway, long story short, I'm going to be reading 2 comics today, which is the final 2 in the Empyre series, which is Captain America and the Avengers, and then also the X-Men one, and then I'll be trying to read another 2 things probably on Monday to be fully caught up again because, like I said, the weekend's going to be just bonkers. And I'm thinking right now I'm going to start with Captain America and the Avengers because it's the one that came up first on my screen. X-Men's a little bit further along, so I'm going to go with Captain America and the Avengers. I'm now currently about midway through. We've covered a lot with Captain America on the ground troops, with ground troops and everything, and now we are with the rest of the Avengers, and Quicksilver has turned up, and I'm like, oh, I've missed Quicksilver, and he is with Wonder Man and also Bobby Morse, aka Mockingbird, which is quite fun, and this is how they're showing how Pietro is moving really, really quickly, and I love how they're doing this and how they're illustrating that, because in my mind I wouldn't know how to actually draw super speed in a comic, so I really like that they've done this with this kind of semi-transparent look to show where he's been and where he is now, this kind of thing. I just think this is really cool because I don't really know how else I would draw super speed, and it kind of makes sense to do it this way, but yeah, I just wanted to point out that this was a fun way to show super speed, and also I've really missed Quicksilver, so I wanted to point out that he's in this. Wanda is now entering the mind of someone who's been taken over by the Kotati to try and sort of get her back, and I love how trippy this looks. It just looks really sort of like low-level psychedelic and stuff like this, and I love it when comics do this. And it is also reminding me, where the hell is Doctor Strange? He's been mentioned, and you do see him in the main Empyre event right at the back in a few places, but I'm like, he should also be front and centre here. He's a powerful sorcerer and things, so I'm like, where is he? Admittedly, we do have Wanda here. We also have Brother Voodoo as well, who's also a very, very powerful sorcerer and stuff, but I'm like, shouldn't the Sorcerer Supreme be here somewhere? Don't understand why he's not here yet, but I guess you can't put everyone in a comic, to be fair, and I mean, this is quite a big comic anyway. We've got a ton of Avengers. The X-Men are also running around in their own like run that I'm going to be reading in a minute. The Fantastic Four are involved. Everybody else is involved, but I'm like, where is Stephen? I miss Stephen. Black Knight is here, for God's sake. Where's Stephen? In today's comics are absolutely bonkers. We've now got dinosaurs attacking plant people. Because there's a thing in the Marvel Universe called the Savage Land, and the Savage Land is essentially a bit in Antarctica that is essentially still in the Jurassic era. So there are dinosaurs and a giant jungle in the middle of the Arctic. I can't remember if it's Antarctica or the Arctic, whichever way around it is. Either way, middle of like a giant icy bit on one pole of the earth. Dinosaurs. And I love this, and this is where part of the battle has been fought, and that's where Wanda was and everything else. And now they are literally sticking the dinosaurs onto the Kotati, and the dinosaurs are going to deal with it. I love comics so much, because where else are you going to see dinosaurs fighting plants? I mean, it's just, comics are weird, and I absolutely adore them. I really do. And now I've finished Captain America and the Avengers part of the Empyre run, and this was quite fun. I will say that I preferred the Avengers section over the Captain America section, just because the Captain America section was a little bit sort of overly military for me, and I much prefer seeing like Avenger type stuff where you've got a whole load of different people using loads of different powers and stuff. But overall, I did really enjoy myself. I really liked, obviously, the dinosaurs and the slightly more psychedelic bits. I also really enjoyed seeing how all of these characters are interacting with each other and stuff. I did miss Doctor Strange though, because I was like, where is he in all of this? Luke Cage is getting involved, Black Knight is getting involved, Scarlet Witch, Brother Voodoo, obviously the Wakandans as well. You've got the inhabitants of the Savage Land, all the rest of it, and I was like, where is Stephen? He is technically an Avenger. Where is he in all of this? But that's a minor complaint that is just for me personally. And apart from that, it was still a really fun comic, and I'm giving it 4 stars. And now I've only got 1 volume left, which is the X-Men one. I admittedly also have the Fantastic Four Empyre one, but that's part of their larger series that I'm going to be rereading next year in time for the new Fantastic Four movie to come out, so I'm just going to leave that one until next year when that comes out. At the moment, I'm just going to focus on the main tie-ins, which is the X-Men one, so I'm going to read that, and then that'll be the end of this vlog. So I'm going to quickly get on with that, because I am rapidly running out of time to read that and finish this vlog. I was moaning there was no Doctor Strange. He's literally the opening page of the X-Men run. Don't know why he's with the X-Men run. Probably Illyana, because the two of them are very, very close, and she is kind of his mentee in a lot of ways, but he's here at last. I'm not complaining now, because he's arrived at last into the Empyre event. Stephen was just a flashback. to like a year ago, explaining Wanda's actions that happened around the time of the Trials of Magneto, which was around the same sort of time as Empyre was coming out. I keep on thinking it is recent because I read them recently, but it is actually years ago now. I'm just really far behind. Anyway, so because all of this is tying into Krakoa and everything else, and the Krakoans were using gates that acted as teleports, and they were all made out of basically Krakoan plants. And because the Kotati are made out of plants, they've tried to take over the gate that is in Genosha, which used to be the mutant island. And so the mutants are all gone over there to try and figure out what's going on, to try and fix the gate and everything else so they can get back through. Meanwhile, Wanda has raised all of the mutants who died, all 16 million of them. They have all been dead for about 20 years now, and Wanda has just resurrected them. But the problem is that they've come back as zombies. Meanwhile, an old villain, well, a current villain at this point was horticulture, which is a bunch of old ladies who really like plants and are trying to use plants for various reasons. They've now got involved, which means we now get this cover page which says alien plants versus mutant zombies versus old ladies. Again, comics are weird but absolutely brilliant. Like, they are absolutely bonkers. In a lot of places you just have to run with it, but gotta say, this is the kind of weirdness I like. I love this kind of weirdness. It's literally alien plants versus mutant zombies versus old ladies. It's just bonkers. It's just bonkers. And I love it. I keep on saying that, but genuinely I love it. And now I've finished Empyre X-Men, which means the entire Empyre event is done now. I really enjoyed this X-Men run, actually, not just because Doctor Strange turned up, but because it was also focusing on alien plants versus mutant zombies versus old ladies, which is just a hilarious combination that worked so well, that could only work in an X-Men comic, to be honest. So that was really fun. I really enjoyed all the characters that were involved in this one, especially seeing as it focused a lot on Illyana, who is one of my all-time favourite mutants, so that was fantastic. I really enjoyed how it tied into Krakoa and everything else. I really liked the zombie element of it, because you can never go wrong with zombies in my mind either. So all of that was really fun. I will say that this isn't going to be for someone who hasn't read anything to do with Krakoa though, because it does talk a lot about the resurrection protocols. You also need to know a bit about the Krakoan gates, also horticulture, all of this kind of thing. X-Corp as well is probably good to have some knowledge of this kind of thing. So I wouldn't say this is for anyone specifically who hasn't read anything to do with the latest Krakoan era, but if you have done, this is a really good tie-in to read. In terms of Captain America and the Avengers, I reckon you could probably read that without reading anything else in terms of those specific characters and what they were up to at the time. You just need to know that their base was in the head of Celestial in the middle of the sea, and there's a lot of like characters involved in this. Even if you don't know that much about those specific characters, you can still follow along pretty well with it. So in that sense, you can read the Lords of Empire tie-in as well as the Captain America and the Avengers tie-in without much issue, but maybe just avoid the X-Men one if you haven't read Krakoa. And now I've officially finished the Empyre event, so I'm going to be finishing this vlog here because I don't really have anything else to say and there's nothing really else to read at the moment. So in conclusion, the Empyre event is absolutely fantastic. It probably helps to have a little bit of knowledge of everybody involved in the like Celestial Messiah and all of that kind of thing, but they do a pretty good job throughout the run to give you quick Cliff Notes versions of what happened, as well as pointing you in the right direction for the specific comics you need to read outside of that if you want to, that gives you the full story. Other than that, the actual story itself is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I loved how inventive it was and how weird it was in a lot of ways, because we're literally talking about the Avengers and alien forces having to team up together, sometimes not that well, to be honest, fighting a bunch of plant people and things like this, which is just fun. It's pure comics bonkersness, which I absolutely love. I loved all the characters involved. I could have done with a little bit more Doctor Strange, but that is just my personal opinion on that, because I'm a massive Doctor Strange fan. But everybody else involved was fantastic. I loved the dynamics between the Fantastic Four characters. I loved all of the jokes with Peter being on the moon and things like this, and being really excited to be on the moon. I loved Tony's part in this as well, and the rest of the Avengers. The X-Men section was also fantastic, and overall this was a really good time, and I am giving it 4 stars. And I've now managed to read 17 comics so far in 16 days, so I'm doing really well on this challenge at the moment, and hopefully next week I will be continuing on with this trend and reading more comics that I'm going to really enjoy. I know I want to read some Alien next week, because obviously I'm seeing Alien Romulus on Sunday, and I don't know what else I'm going to read. Probably not some Marvel, just sort of some stuff outside of that, because I've got several more Black Hammer issues now to read. Maybe some more My Son Is Gay, I Think My Son Is Gay, and I've also got a couple of other things I've borrowed from the library, so I'm going to maybe read those, but I'll decide that next week. For now, I'm going to be wrapping this vlog up because I've actually got to go in a minute, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me what you thought of the Empyre event when you read it. I'd love to know. Or if you don't have that much time, leave me a plant emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link as well down below to all my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, where I've got a full reading guide for the Empyre event and a whole load of stuff to do with various different characters who were involved in this, including the whole thing about Mantis being the mother of the Celestial Messiah. If you are interested in that, all of that will be linked down below. Or if books are more your thing, I'll also leave a link as well down below to my bookish Etsy store if you want to treat yourself to something bookish today. Or if you just want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here will be the link to my previous video. But until next time, everyone, bye!